Wake up, sleeper. We're in trouble. Lane's closing in, and we need this next contract to go right. But nothing's gone right so far.
Welcome to 65 Minutes Of, a series in which we take a look at the opening hour of a new indie game. I am your host Topher, and today we're playing the opening sequence of the highly anticipated Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. This is, of course, the sequel to the very well received Citizen Sleeper by Jump Over the Age and published by Fellow Traveler. They were kind enough to send us a review code, and I feel honored to be able to have a sneak peek at the game before it comes out tomorrow. Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector is a dice-driven RPG in a human and heartfelt sci-fi world. You are an escaped android with a malfunctioning body, a price on your head, and no memory of your past. Get a ship, find a crew, and take on contracts while you navigate across the Starward Belt. The game releases tomorrow on January 31st, but you can head on over to somanygames.co.uk to read my review of the game right now, or you can check out the newest episode of the Playlog Podcast later today, where I will be talking about the game with my co-host CG Danny B. Links to both can be found in the video description. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more first looks at excellent video games. Alright, let's start the new game. There's 3 difficulty options, which is nice to see. Let's just select the intended difficulty and see where that takes us. So which class do we want to be? There's 3 classes. First we've got the Machinist. Machinist sleepers are built to repair and modify automated systems used in corporate resource extraction. Machinists are very skilled engineers, but their isolated work means they often struggle with tasks requiring a direct approach or social engagement. Their focus skill allows them to focus on a single task and boost their dice to excel in it. Sleepers assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. Next up we've got Operators. Operator sleepers are built to work with drones and remote machines over local networks to perform corporate resource extraction from a distance. Operators have expertise in working with interfaces and computer systems, but are more physically fragile than other sleepers. Their reboot skill allows them to hack their own systems to re-roll dice, a risky but potentially powerful move. Sleepers assigned to operator work are usually cerebral and precise people. And finally we have the Extractors. Extractor sleepers are built to work at the coal face of corporate resource extraction, often in hard vacuum environments. Extractors have a high level of physical endurance, but their confidence means they struggle with tasks requiring intuition. Their rally skill allows them to motivate those in their team, boosting their crew dice. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. Now, I personally feel like Machinist would suit my personality the best. So let's go for that. In the moment before waking, the dark space before conscious thought, you struggle to find the pieces of yourself. Usually these pieces come with a particular cadence, each appearing sequentially, like the boot process of an old terminal. First your body, artificial, compromised, but relaying sense data all the same. Then its context, the breeze of air filtration, the soft contact of your birth in 0G. Then emotion, coming into focus, coming into your body, bringing with it that first instinct, the one that has framed your past 100 cycles. Fear. But that familiar sequence does not arrive. Instead, you are unmoored in space, your body distant, your context silent, even your emotions somehow obscured and scattered. Among all that disarray, only one familiar thing arrives: the fear. It is a scrambled, panicked fear, the drowning fear, the falling fear, the fear that makes you reach desperately for any stable point. It is the fear that tells you something is wrong. Something is very wrong with you. Wake up, sleeper. The voice is whispered in your ear, an act that makes you suddenly aware of your head, pulsing in pain, your body rigid with tension. Sleeper, a familiar name, a mind copied, emulated, a body built, implanted, one person sleeping until their death is worked away, their double being made to work, to be consumed, and eventually to be destroyed, a proxy, an emulation, a sleeper. That is what you are. But you escaped. You remember that now. Broke free of your corporate creators as an ARP, in search of a future. You cannot remember the details of your escape, but you know the fear has been with you ever since. All of a sudden, you remember you have eyes, and your eyes flicker open. Pale eyes and a pale face. Lane. The name comes with its own specific sensation of fear, one you recoil from instinctively. Sorry to interrupt, a sharp smirk, but this ends here. You search your mind for more than a name. Is this how you reward me for my generosity? Lane is leaning over your horizontal floating body, looking down into your eyes. I took you in, protected you, gave you a purpose. You try to look away, to the corners of your vision, to find something you understand. Your body does not respond. But I suppose that wasn't enough? He reaches into the pocket of his jacket and retrieves a small vial. This wasn't enough? The vial glitters. This object you know, and have known for a long time. Stabilizer. The drug that keeps your artificial body, your emulated mind, from inevitable decay. The only balm for your planned obsolescence. The liquid roiling in the vial fills you with disgust. Lane pockets the vial. But it would be wasted on you now, after what you have done to this body of yours. He looks at you with a palpable disgust. Lane's eyes scan your body, and as they do, you become aware of the wires and tubes attached to you. Those that were meant to free you from your dependence, from the stabilizer and the control it grants Lane. They are free, you piece of shit. They don't need you anymore. The voice comes from somewhere behind Lane's head. It is a voice you know, but when you search your mind to try to understand why, you find only dizzying darkness. Shut him up! Lane barks the command, and you hear the sound of impact, of pain, from elsewhere in the room. You try to move your limbs again, and this time you feel a flicker, the twitch of a finger. You feel the extension and compression of synthetic muscle. Free, are you? Lane smirks. You were free when I disabled your tracker, when I gave you the stabilizer you needed. He scans your body with angry eyes. Now you aren't free. You're just broken. I had such big plans for you, Sleeper. I invested in you. Lane grips your arm hard, and you feel a jolt of reaction. You will the arm to move. But you have ruined all that. Lane speaks louder, over the sound of the struggle behind him. I will try to preserve your body, of course. I have my own uses for it. But your emulation? You feel one of his hands searching behind your head. He finds and grips the thick cable running into the port at the base of your skull. I will burn that out. Lane jerks forward, slamming across your body, then spinning away out of sight. You feel yourself rolling, the cables plugged into you looping and wrapping around your limbs. Then you feel hands steadying you, pulling cables. You glance around wildly and see someone diligently unplugging you. You meet his eyes. Hey, he waves a hand in your dazed face. We need to move. Lane won't be out for long. He unloops a cable from around your wrist. Sleeper, help me out here. You blink slowly. Do you know this person? He leans over you, and you feel his hands on the connector, flicking switches, releasing locks. Come on, come on, come on. He tugs the connector clear and pulls you up. You see the room you're in for the first time, filled with tech and terminals, wires waving everywhere, all lit by big windows looking out on an impossibly bright, screen-filled street beyond. In the corner, You see the dark shape of a floating body surrounded by a glittering constellation of crimson baubles. Is that blood? Move! You are wrestled and shoved towards the door, which slides open in front of you, and then you are out in all that brightness, all that movement, gliding hard towards some unknown destination. You come to a stop in a dark alley, the one who guided you here pausing to catch his breath. He doubles over beside a massive life support unit that sends a lukewarm breeze across your skin. You stare at him, trying to recall anything about him. You notice his tattered jacket, his lightweight clothes. You remember the station runs hot. Something about the power that flows through the place. He looks up and meets your eye. What's going on, sleeper? He wipes sweat from his forehead and it floats away in a swarm of spheres. Talk to me. Who are you? You see a concerned frown cross his face. Don't mess with me, sleeper. That's not funny. He comes closer, eyeing you carefully. What station are we on? He narrows his eyes, waits for the answer. You close your eyes, trying to recall. You force your way through the dark to the image of a station. No, a city, growing on the back of a vast set of hexagonal solar cells, shadowed by them. You open your eyes. Dark side. The word leaves your mouth like an exhale, an instinct. Before you heard yourself sound it out, you didn't know it was there. He sighs. And me, who am I? You see something like fear in his eyes. Panic, perhaps. You stare hard at his face, the slight upturn of his mouth, the intensity of his stare. Nothing comes. He closes his eyes and drops his head, putting a hand to his temple. The reboot. He is speaking quietly to himself. Lane interrupted the process and... He lifts his head and stares at you. We need to keep going. We need to leave. He turns and kicks off down the alley. Come on. The rig can't be far. As you are led through the passages and surfaceways of the station, you try to recall your life here. The texture, the temperature of Darkside feels familiar, but you struggle to pin specific memories to it. Focusing hard, you recall waking up in these passages, cycle after cycle, the rhythms of the station flowing over you along with the crowds. You recall desperation and the slow decay of your body that caused it. Then Lane, those pale eyes, offering you a glittering vial, stabilizer, the promise of supplying more for your work, a deal he locked you into like a cage. There your memory fails you, but in the dark beyond the moment, the residue of panic, of fear, remains. You were Lane's prisoner, Lane's plaything. You shudder in the cold passage. Wait. Your guide holds up a hand, and you stop your glide using the wall. Ahead, you see the tunnel opens up into a wide open bay with a few doors leading to cylindrical tunnels. The docks. They're watching the rig. He nods towards the docks, and you see one of the doors has a couple of figures flanking it, one covered in ornate tattoos, the other with bright silver implants along their cheekbones. It's Obo, Lane's guys. He looks at you and shakes his head in frustration. All this, it's not coming back to you, is it? Something catches your eye, and you see he is playing with a coin, nervously turning it over and over in his fingers. He sees you looking and slips it away. He places a hand on his chest. I'm Seraphin, alright? He looks pained when he speaks. Lane, he was our captor. Both of us. We did this so we could escape. We needed to reboot you, to break your dependence on stabilizer. He pauses. You know what that is, right? You nod meekly. But Lane interrupted me back there. The reboot didn't complete and... He sighs and shakes his head. We can still make this work. He looks back at the docks. I'll lead them away. You get the docking bridge open. If you make it to the rig, I know how to get us in. Got that? He searches your face for signs of recognition. What's the rig? Seraphim looks annoyed. A ship, our ship, or at least it soon will be. Lane assigned it to us when we were on jobs for him. Get that door open. He pats you on the shoulder. I know you can do this. Seraphim kicks off hard and glides into the docks. Over here, shitheads! He bellows to the guards as he barrels through. They immediately push off from the wall, giving chase. You wait a breath, then glide across to the door where they were guarding. You look, already panicked, at the tightly sealed door. Its control panel locked out. You hear a shout from somewhere nearby. You need to get it open. Then we get a tutorial for what we're going to do next. During scenes you may encounter skill checks where you can perform certain actions using your skills. Like the dice actions you will encounter later, skill checks can have a positive, neutral or negative outcome. The better the rating of your skill, the more likely you will succeed on a check. The odds of success are displayed when you select the check. You can see more info in the guide section of the pause menu. The guide is here in the pause menu, which is a really useful tool for those new to the game. So what are we going to do? We can hack the door, which gives us a 25% positive option, 50% neutral, 25% negative. Or we can break the seal, which is 50% positive and 50% neutral. I'm liking the odds on the engineer one better. Let's go with that. Neutral outcome. Oh yeah. You shift to the central access panel and wrench it open. You scan over the mechanism looking for a weakness. Somewhere nearby you hear more shouting. You reach in and grab the main latch, straining as you bend it outward. The seal releases and you drag the door halfway open. It screeches in its metal frame as you pull. Go! Go! Seraphim flies past you, through the doorway, into the docking tunnel. You turn to see the two guards approaching fast across the docks, and quickly glide after Seraphim. Seraphim is already at the rig's door, inputting an entry code. The rig's door scissors open, and you both rush inside. Quickly! Seraphim grabs you by the arm and drags you up to the cockpit, the ship's layout hazy in your mind. He dumps you in a flight seat and straps himself into his own. You see him tap a series of buttons as he does, talking to himself. Come on. The rig's drive rumbles into life and Seraphim slams a button on the console. You feel the force of the ship's acceleration as it pulls away. Off we go. As the ship glides into place on the connecting bridge, its automatic systems nudged there by the port's docking protocols, you feel a sense of relief. Seraphim burned hard out of Darkside, and you dropped in and out of consciousness in your seat as the rig made its way across the belt. But now, with open space between you and Lane, you feel fresher, more awake. Seraphim breaks the silence. We're good, Sleeper. His eyes don't leave the monitor, and you realize this part of your escape is routine for him. You and he must have docked this ship countless times in your work for Lane. The problem is, you don't remember any of them. We made it, he whispers, closing his eyes and letting out a sigh. We certainly did. He turns, and you see a pained look on his face, as if remembering something difficult. Have you said this exact thing to him before, in the same situation? Are you okay? He looks at you, chewing one side of his lip, searching your face. Not really, he puffs. Seraphim reaches up, flicking through a set of switches in a practiced fashion, completing the shutdown. You watch, a little frustrated with your own uselessness. Running the rig, you realize, is just another thing you've forgotten. A clunk that runs through the walls of the ship is followed by a short percussive alarm tone from the pilot's console. Docking complete. Seraphim kicks off from his seat, twisting as he glides past you towards the back of the cockpit. His hands find the rails on either side of the door, and he pauses, facing into the corridor beyond. He turns back to you, backlit in cold cyan. We need a plan. He glances around. Lane's not going to let us slip away quietly. He sighs. We need to talk. Seraphin furrows his brow. Not now, Sleeper. We need to forget. He flinches, the words coming out wrong. We need to focus on something other than... He pauses again, unsure. Us. He sighs. We need to survive this thing first. Then maybe we can talk. That isn't fair. Seraphin's eyes flash. What isn't fair, Sleeper, is that I just gave up everything for someone who can barely remember my name. He tenses at his own unexpected anger. We are not doing this. He slams the metal of the cockpit wall. Not now. He closes his eyes and looks down. Just let me think. He fixes you with a stare. I need to think. We have bought ourselves some time. He glances through the cockpit window at the blinking lights of the station. You may not remember Hexport, but I do, and there are plenty of opportunities here for us, if we can keep our heads down. He turns back to the corridor. That's what we'll do. He pushes off and glides towards the main lock, and you follow, pulling yourself along, hand over hand in 0G. You already emptied the tank on this thing. He slaps a hand against the ship's insides. So, we need to refuel, and that won't be cheap. But if you and I know one thing, Sleeper, it's how to work. I'm gonna get myself reacquainted, see if I can turn up any old connections, people that might throw as an easy contact. You... He glances back over his shoulder. You keep out of trouble. No profile. Got it. Seraphin stops at the airlock. Stopping the reboot halfway through, he pulls a worn crew jacket from a locker and starts pulling it on. We don't know what that did to you. He jams an arm into his sleeve. I don't want you passing out and... He stops. I'll be fine. Seraphin drops his head, swearing to himself. He grabs another crew jacket and thrusts it at you. Just put the damn hood up, will you? You take it and slip it on. Thank you. Seraphin nods. He stabs at the button to open the lock. The inner door hisses open, and Seraphin glides through. Wait for a little bit, then leave. Anyone looking for us will be looking for two people traveling together. He looks at you in your worn crew jacket, a limited disguise for what is clearly a sleeper. We meet back here later. Any trouble? Same thing. Meet here. He surveys your disguise again and shakes his head. This is a shitty idea. He gives you one last look. Maybe find yourself something to eat. Suddenly, you recognize Seraphin's instinct to look after you, a flash of a relationship now lost to the reboot. Catch! Seraphin throws a handful of something towards you. You manage to grab the projectiles, and when you open your hand, you see a stack of cryo-chits. Those should get you some food. We'll need some more for fuel and supplies. He grimaces. That means odd jobs on the station, for both of us. Seraphin kicks off and glides down the docking bridge. Don't go too far, alright? He shouts as he leaves. Take it slow! And with that, he is gone, leaving the connecting bridge and heading into Hexport's docking concourse. You wait for a moment in silence. It's hard to know what's going on inside Seraphin's head. Here he is, on some hapless escape plan with a friend who can't remember a thing about him. You try to imagine how close you both must have been for him to agree to this thing, but it is painful to think about. That's all gone now anyway. All you can do is move on. You shake the thoughts from your head and pull the jacket tight. Let's see what Hexport has to offer. You kick off and glide into port. Another tutorial. Welcome to Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. The game runs in cycles, during which you can perform actions with your dice, use cryo to buy food, fuel, supplies and items, progress clocks towards new scenes and events. You can review tutorials at any time in the guide section of the pause menu. So let's see, there's nothing down here. And these two will further the story. Let's start with the docks. In Citizen Sleeper 2, you perform actions by assigning action dice to them, so pretty similar to the first game. The higher the dice you assign, the more likely you will succeed at an action. But your dice will be modified by your skill. Your skill modifier for the action is displayed on the right and will reduce or increase the value of the dice assigned to the action. Like skill checks, dice actions have 3 outcomes: positive, negative and neutral. Each action is also rated safe, risky or dangerous, based on the outcomes it has. The more dangerous an action is, the more significant both its rewards and consequences are. For more information on dice actions, check the guide section of the pause menu. So, in the docks we can chat to crews. There are plenty of crews milling around the docks and moving cargo. They could be a good source of info. We could explore the docks. Export's docks are a dizzying mess of braided cables and a flickering signage filled with busy spacers. Exploring is both thrilling and intimidating. And both of these will further the clock Hexport connections. The Hexport docks thrum with life. There are contacts to be made here, you are sure of it. Since I am not the most social of sleepers, I should probably explore the docks. Do I have the into it? I guess I do. Positive outcome. You just progress the clock. Clocks track your progress towards both positive and negative events and can be filled by performing actions or by the passing of cycles. Oh, so we already filled half of the Hexport connections clock. That's nice. Maybe we use another one here. Let's first check out some other options. Ooh. We got a new one on the bends, but we also have the Hexport exchange. In the Hexport exchange we can trade scrap. Trading scrap is all about identifying materials and cleaning up components. It's an engineer's job more than a trader's. Or we can impress the brokers. The data brokers are the heart of the exchange. They show off their knowledge by discussing decryption. Maybe if you can talk the talk. Let's not do that. The rig is completely empty, so we're not going to do that. What can we do in the bends? Here you can eat in exchange for cryo. Eating gives you energy and stops you starving. Different foods give different amounts of energy. We can play Star and Stoker, a spacer gambling game played with custom magnetic dice. Chits are stashed in symbol-marked cans and winning is ruthlessly luck-based. Okay. Maybe let's not do that. And buy a Ben's Fry, a plastic bag of flash-fried salt-flecked tubers. The Ben's Fry brings spacers back to the scattered tables of the bar cycle after cycle. Make purchase. Nice. Can we do anything with the rig? The rig is your ship and home in the starward belt. While the rig is docked at a hub, there are multiple areas you can visit. Bunks, use dice to reduce stress. Galley, use supplies to regain energy. Other locations will unlock as you play. While the rig is in dock at a hub, your crew will also help to gather resources to contribute to the upkeep of the ship. You can choose which resources they should focus on in the crew task menu to the left. You have a random chance of acquiring it at the beginning of the following cycle. Okay. This clock is a cycle clock. It will progress towards an event each cycle. That disappeared more quickly than I could read it. We have the galley, where we can make a meal. Or we have the bunks, where we can rest and recover. Okay. Let's do something else at the docks. Let's do some more exploring. Let's be safe and go for 100% positive so we can fill that clock. You have a good sense of this humming way station. Time to use that knowledge to your advantage. The Hexport Connections clock has now filled up completely. As you are gliding across the docking concourse, you hear a scuffle. The noise of raised voices cuts through the conversation, drifting out of the dockside shops. Glancing down an alley, you see a huddle of figures shouting back and forth. You spot one man in the middle of the group, surrounded, pushing the others back as they grab at the bag slung over his shoulder. You don't like the way this looks, but then again, Seraphim told you to keep your head down. Oof. So we can't rush in, because we don't have the necessary skill. We can cause a distraction or wait it out. We're good people. We won't just wait it out. A neutral outcome. You look around for something that could break up the fight and see the thick cooling pipes running down the alley wall. You quickly try to understand the system and choose a valve to start spinning. As you do, the system begins to vent in sequence down the alley, violent jets randomly bursting into the air. There's a scramble in the alley, and you spot the figure who was being attacked drop down to the alley floor. Then, your vision instantly fills with pale liquid as a jet of coolant jumps out nearby, missing you, but sending you spinning in 0G. After a few moments, you manage to steady yourself. As you do, you see a clear alley, the assailants having fled, with one figure gliding towards you. I suppose you think that was clever? The man gives you a severe look. You like to break up fights you didn't start? He laughs. The belt's gonna eat you up. He shifts the large bags on his shoulder, weightless but unwieldy in 0G. I was helping. The man laughs. Well, he shakes his head. Thanks, I guess. He kicks off and drifts past you. You watch the man go, and then, after a moment, he stops and turns back. He rubs his forehead, looking down as he does. What is your deal anyway? He sighs. Maybe you were new here, but Hexport is no place for do-gooders. You needed help. The man smiles. I don't think so. He shakes his head. Bunch of cowards. Idiots too. Getting beat up over some scrap. Look, let's not hang around, alright? The man pats his chest. I'm Femi. He unshoulders one of the bags and pushes it towards you. Make yourself useful. Let's head. You get the strap of the bag over your shoulder and follow him through the docks, gliding past the concourse toward the connecting bridges. He cuts down a side passage, looking back to check you are following. Then he stops at a docking bridge connecting to a dull green ship with yellow markings. You look out the viewing window at its odd catamaran-like shape, seemingly built from two separate hulls welded together. Symbol crash, he says, and you assume that's the ship's name. Femi, you bringing in strays? A young woman, brightly dressed and stretching as she glides, drifts into the passage. She glances at you. No offense. Nia, Femi shakes his head. This one, he squeezes your shoulder. Help me fend off some hexport scum while you were busy sunning yourself. Nia raises an eyebrow. I'm sure you could handle them, big brother. Her glib response hides the flash of concern that passes across her face. You can't tell if Femi noticed. Nia turns to you. Thanks. She smiles sweetly. And I am sorry for my brother. She shoots him a glance. Just in general. Nia, Femi murmurs. Enough now. He reaches over and takes the bag you were carrying. Nia rolls her eyes at you, but stays silent. Factory Row wouldn't take these. Femi hefts the bags. I'm gonna load them back up. Maybe we'll find a use for them. He turns back to you. Thanks for the assist, Sleeper. He nods firmly. Not what I expected. He slaps the button for the bridge door and kicks off along the docking bridge on his way to the cymbal crash. Nia looks at you with raised eyebrows. I hope my brother was joking? Or did you really help him? I tried. Thank you. She looks back at the ship. My brother needs help more than he admits. It's okay. She pauses, thinking. I want to ask you something. She takes a deep breath, then gives you a direct look. What is she building up to? Are you looking for crew? She looks away. Sorry to be direct, but you seem like, well, if you are on Hexport, maybe you are with the crew. She stops herself. I mean, maybe your crew needs crew. Maybe you were looking? Why do you ask? Nia looks back at the ship, then at you. Look, I'll be honest. Being on the crew with my brother is nice, but he is suffocating me. She frowns at her own bluntness. I'm not a kid anymore, you know? But he still sees me like one. She shrugs. I want to show him I can handle myself. I need experience. I need to run some contracts. She gives you a determined look. What do you say? I'll think about it. I'm a good salvager, all right. You can use me. She smiles. I can spot things, find gaps, ways in. She folds her arms across her chest. I know what I'm doing. Femi taught me well. She glances back at the ship. Just consider it, all right? Let me prove myself. Suddenly, a shout comes from the ship, echoing down the passage. Femi. He makes both of you nervous. Nia looks in his direction. I should go. She pushes off towards the docking bridge. I'll be waiting. Nia gives you one last glance as she departs, then disappears into the docking bridge, leaving you alone in the passage. New friends! New location discovered. Okay, the warehouses. Freight loading. The warehouses at the Hexport dock supply the industrial operations of the station, meaning they need constant loading and restocking. I need Endure, but I do not have Endure, I think. Was there any way to see? No, that's not it. That's not it either. What was the way to check? I don't remember. Can I input dice? Let's see what this does. Oh no. That's not gonna work. Leave. I need better dice because these are the dice I can still spend today. But they're not really helpful. No. Let's go to the exchange. Ooh, an engineer's job. That I can do. Let's trade scrap. manage to buy up some small components and resell them, losing cryo but gaining some contacts among the brokers. Cool. Does this work? That is risky. Oh, that's better. Let's trade some more scrap. You have established a presence here, and the brokers seem to be a little more comfortable around you. And now the rules of exchange clock has filled up. New location discovered. 2 of them. The Hexport Trade Hall and the Hexport Canteen. Let's start with the canteen. We can eat there if we have the money for it, but we do not. Buy fuel, buy supplies, fill supplies. Let's buy some fuel. And leave. Can we add the fuel here? I guess the fuel was added automatically. Let's hope so. Let's end the cycle. And see what the new day brings us. Lousy dice, that's what it brings us. Jesus. We're in trouble, sleeper. Seraphim leans into the bunks as you are getting up. Without further explanation, he disappears down the corridor towards the rear of the ship. You drift out into the passage, pulling on your clothes and glide down the length of the rig, the cool air making you shiver. Seraphim is a silhouette silently leading the way. He stops at the far end, diverting through a side door, shooting you a glance as he does. You find Seraphim inside, holding one of a tangle of arm-thick tubes that are waving in the 0G engine room. You know what these are? Fuel pipes? Seraphim shrugs. Close enough. These are the engine's feed lines. He waves one in the air. And before you ask, no, they aren't supposed to be waggling loose. What happened? These must have broken loose when we pushed the ship hard on our way out of Darkside. He looks at the mess. We are lucky the reserve tank is empty. Otherwise, he shakes his head. It would have been bad. But pushes the pipe to the side. No feed from the reserve tank means that the rig's range is limited to the local region only. He thumps the large lumpen housing of the engine. This thing can't take us anywhere far. So we fix it? Seraphim sighs. That's the short of it. Seraphim whacks the engine housing again, harder this time. Just not been our run of luck. He turns and starts gathering the tangled feed lines, his frustration evident in the violence of his movements. We will need a new set of these, that's for sure. He starts forcing them into a crate. So how about you try to track them down? I'll take a look at things here and see if I can figure out another fix for the reserve tank. He glances up from his work. From what I've heard on Hexport, Factory Row is the place to find ship fitters. Maybe you can do some recon while I sort this place out. It's on the other end of the station. Okay, I'll take a look. Seraphim keeps working. Wait. Seraphim pauses, seemingly unsure. There's something else. He drops the feed lines and they float, waving in the air like tubular seaweed. I've heard word that Lane's on the hunt. He frowns. A message went out everywhere in the local radius of Darkside. He's looking for us. And we can't leave. Exactly. Seraphim sighs. Which is why we need those feed lines. I'm going to try to work something out. Maybe I can improvise a solution. I don't know. He looks down. I'm no ship fitter. But while I do, you go hunting. See what you can turn up, okay? He smiles a weak smile. Get going. You leave the engine room, the clanking sound of Seraphine's cleanup efforts echoing through the ship. Fuel feed lines, that's the next step. You take a deep breath and head out. You have discovered a drive. Drives help you track and choose your objectives in Citizen Sleeper 2. The arrow button in the top left opens the drive menu, where you can choose which drive to track. Once a drive is tracked, a yellow marker will be placed above any location that relates to that drive. Drives come in two types, major and minor. On completion, a major drive rewards 2 upgrade points and a minor rewards 1. Keep an eye on the drive menu as you progress to see what new opportunities and objectives are available and track those you want to pursue. So right now, we have Escape Hexport, which is a major. Lane is hunting you and Hexport isn't far from Darkside. Refuel, repair, find what you need and then leave before he finds you. Seems like a good one to track. Let's leave the ship behind. New location discovered. Okay. The factory row. We can search the row. The factory owners of the row speak mostly in terms of supply and demand, but going door to door might help you find the ship fitter you need. Or you can haul materials. Factory row is filled with workers hauling material through its zero-G corridors. Helping might find you some fans among the factories. But I don't have this skill. That's I already regret choosing my class. Let's search. A negative outcome. Oh no. You ramble through some attempts to discuss scrap claims nearby, but the mood sours fast and you leave feeling under threat. Damn. Why are my dice this terrible today? Let's try again. You have to. Neutral outcome. Okay. You spend as much time listening as you do talking and seem to make headway into negotiating a contract. What happens when I do this? There's still 50% chance of a neutral outcome. Let's try it. Ooh, another negative outcome. Come on, just one more. We need to get that clock full. Ooh, another negative outcome. This is not good. You have a little trust with the factories now. The trick is not to waste it. Okay. Factory row howls as you glide through its cramped passages. Whatever its many bays and rooms once were, they now serve as containers for industry of every kind. Whirring manufactories precisely engineer components with rapidly shifting arms, while scrappers hammer incessantly at bent ship plates. Everywhere you look, there is energy and activity, and for good reason. Hexport itself is built on the derelict fragments of a solar reflector, and even the small amount of energy generated by its remaining mirrors is enough to power a city of machines. It is familiar to you, of course, in a strange far-off way, because of Darkside. That place and your memories of it are a muddy haze, but it is hard to forget the glint of its hexagonal reflectors, 10 or 20 times more in number than Hexport's, and that wild flickering city growing on their back like a tumor. In comparison, Hexport feels provincial, but deep in Factory Row, you could almost be back in Darkside. And then you see them, tubes just like those Seraphine had waved in your face, the feed lines. You push over to the display window of the unit, marked Karsten's Supply, in block capitals cut from hull plate. There, amongst an angled shelf of oversized ship components, sit the feed lines, like some large biomechanical tangle of snakes. You slip inside, where the sound of Factory Row is a little screened, and spot a large figure working at a bench. Hunched over, concentrating, it seems he doesn't notice you enter. Hello? A sharp eye glints as the figure looks over his shoulder. Can I help you? His accent is heavy, but unknown to you. Those feed lines, how much? There's a sharp clink as Karsten places his tools and the component against the magnetic plate on the wall. He turns with surprising grace and begins cleaning his hands on a cloth. Those sharp eyes scan you, but Karsten's thick-set features do not betray the results of his assessment. Custom built those, for a client that never collected. He looks at his hands while he speaks, checking for stray oil stains. You have one of the old MEVs then? He sounds out the letters in a way you don't recognize as he speaks. Guess I did that wrong. You try to recall anything you know about your ship, but the memories elude you. Perhaps Seraphin should have come along. That's right. Karsten nods. Always good to see one of those still running. Look. Karsten drifts over to where you are standing, his imposing height evident. For a fellow enthusiast like you, he continues in a distinctive monotone, let's say a few hundred cryo, on clean chits. He shoots a glance at the feed lines. 400, let's say, to be precise. 400? 400, Karsten says back, repeating your question without the emphasis. It's expensive, I know. It's a shame, but it's just what they are worth. He screws up his mouth a little into something that might be a smile. However, I'm more of the bartering type myself anyway. Barter sounds good. Karsten nods sagely. There's a little favor I need a crew for, and well, you look like you might be a good fit. He tucks the cloth away in a pocket and clasps his hands. I know of an old Solheim wreck out there. Very old. Pre-collapse. It's tucked away in a dead zone, so no one has ever really cut it. He shrugs. Not only that, but Solheim derelicts have a habit of triggering nasty security protocols when approached by an unfamiliar ship, so it's been left well alone. But a salvager like you, with an old Solheim rig, I bet it wouldn't even flinch if it saw you coming. He smiles. I have a special interest, a need for that old tech. All those Solheim ships have a data core, and while I don't care about the accounting reports or material ledgers or whatever they kept on the damn thing, I do care about the hardware. So, if I was to find you back here with that data core in your cargo hold, clean cut and complete, well then, I could see my way to doing a straight barter for those feed lines. Karsten pauses, sniffs at the air again. You just need the coordinates. This seems fishy, but do we really have an option? Simple as that? Simple as that, he repeats in his monotone way. So, you interested? He glances back at his workbench. Because I'm a busy man. We do need it. I'll do it. Alright then. He holds out a heavy hand for you to shake, and as you automatically reach out, he grabs your forearm instead. Karsten pulls you closer, squeezing your arm. Let's keep this one between us, alright? He half smiles, his face huge and close. It's our deal. Before you can respond, he thumbs a little drive into your palm. Those coordinates. And then he lets go of your arm with what you swear is a wink. You take a moment to gather yourself, and by the time you do, a whirring fills the air, Karsten having returned to his workbench. You turn and glide out of Karsten's supply with a growing mix of anxiety and excitement in the pit of your stomach and a cacophony of factory row in your ears. A contract. Seraphin might even be impressed. You look at the drive in your palm and smile. This could be your route out. You think of leaving this place behind, in possession of an improved ship too. Suddenly, a small but firm hand falls on your back, an equally small voice coming with it. Hey, wait up! You turn in the passage to see a young woman, her hair waving from the rapid glide she clearly just came out of to catch you. She steadies herself using your shoulder. Sorry. She smiles a quick and flat smile. Wanted to catch you. I'm Junie. Her dark eyes flick around nervously. You notice the portable terminal she carries, something data scrapers call a deck, and her backpack full of components and trailing wires. What's up? Karsten, she starts, still catching her breath. He sent me to grab you. She smiles that flat smile again. Wants me to come with you on that job. Her eyes shoot down to the drive in the palm of your hand. She smiles again. What? Karsten seems like the kind of person who would tell this himself. Why didn't he tell me? She glances back towards Karsten's. I guess he forgot. He does that sometimes. She looks sheepishly at you. He just grabbed me after you two were done talking, so... Karsten's always sending me on things like this. I guess he wants me to help you out. Keep an eye on things. She pauses. I can be pretty helpful. So, she looks around the passage. Should I meet you at your ship and you can tell me when you're ready to go? This is hard because I don't trust Karsten, but I don't trust her either. I can't trust anyone because I don't know who they are. Let's say I'm not sure. She looks nervous. Sure, I mean, you aren't sure when you're leaving? I'm not sure you're coming. She pauses, thinking. I mean, Karsten said I need to go. She glances back in the shop's direction. And he does get pretty mad when people don't do what he asks. She shrugs. Let's see. Let's call her bluff. Okay. She glances around. Karsten doesn't like waiting, but it's up to you. Junie pushes off and waves. Looking forward to working with you, she calls back as an afterthought. What about the ship? Oh, I'll find it, she calls back and then disappears down the passage. You watch her go, glad of the contract but nervous too. Will Karsten keep up his side of the bargain if you deliver? I don't know about this, sleeper. Seraphin looks nervously out of the rig's window as you finish explaining Karsten's deal as well as Junie's offer to help. If this job was easy, Karsten would have done it himself already. That means there's a catch. He frowns at the stars. And there's definitely something going on with this Junie girl. He shakes his head. What choice do we have? I mean, what choice do we have? What if, Seraphin narrows his eyes, you could get the Creo together to buy the feed lines? Is that possible? I found a contract board at the exchange, further in station. He gestures towards Hexpert. We take on a job that might get us some of the way towards buying those feed lines. Plus, even if we do want to take Karsten's job, a bit of money to get ourselves prepared wouldn't be a bad idea. Fill up on fuel, supplies, be ready for whatever comes. Do we have time? Probably not, but without cryo for fuel and supplies we aren't going anywhere. Seraphin sighs. Just take a look at the contract board, see what you think. While you're at it, you might want to see if you can scare up some freelance crew too. Seraphin shrugs. Many hands make light work and all that. Or we stop messing around. We take Karsten's job right now and get it done before he can think twice. Seraphin yawns. Seems like a whole set of bad options to me. Either way, I've still got work to do on the drive. Seraphin nods a farewell, heading back to the engine room. Let me know what you decide. For a moment, you pause, letting the haze of plans and ideas settle in your mind. Suddenly, you curl up, pain shooting along your spine. You grit your teeth, your muscles lock tight, your vision narrows as you squeeze your eyes shut. You feel a shift, as if some connection has broken. It's almost impossible to describe, like you're floating away from your body, dispersing, dissolving. There's nothing familiar in the pain, nothing to hold on to. You grit your teeth. And then another shift comes and you are back in your body, trembling against the metal wall of the passage. The pain slowly fades, becoming a pulsing throb and then a residual flicker. You flex in 0G, stretching out the tension. There's a strange sensation of distance that persists beyond the pain. A disconnection between your body and yourself, a flickering numbness that refuses to recede. You wonder if the reboot has done something to your body, or if this is some new sensation that you will have to live with indefinitely. It strikes you that you know so little about the body that houses you. It could be moments away from collapse, or it might persevere for countless cycles like this. You try to shake off the feeling, pushing your hands against each other until they feel like they are yours again. Time is the only thing you need, and right now it feels like it's running out fast. You head for the airlock. You have work to do. You have unlocked a contract. Open the map screen to view it. Complete board contract. Seraphin advises you to get the contract from the board to help pay for your escape. Finding one should be easy, completing it is the challenge. Okay. Ah, there we go. There are our stats. Welcome to the character screen. Here you can upgrade and configure your sleeper. On the left you can upgrade your skills to improve the skill modifier applied to your dice when you undertake an action. To the right, you can upgrade your push, the unique ability of your class. When upgrading your push, only one upgrade at each level can be active at once. You can configure which upgrade is active only while at the hub. Ooh, there's a point available. Let's see, let's give ourselves some endure. Oh no, that needs 4 of them? What? Interface, endure, Intuit. Wait, all of them need 4? Oh man. And all of these need 2, so that's no help. Fine. Let's see. What do we have here? Karsten Supply, Swift Scrap Soul, Contract Board. Let's go to the contract board. We have Conway Signal. Station management have located a Conway signal. They are concerned to see one so close and are looking for someone to disable its source. I cannot afford to buy that signal contract. Damn. That's no good. Let's leave. We have the Swift Scrap. Here we can do a data diffusal shift. All scrapyards have paid data diffusal work to offer, as all tech tends to be laced with protocols and countermeasures that need disabling. We have a scrapyard shift. Swift Scrap Solutions, or Triple S as it's known locally, is a chaotic and slightly terrifying scrapyard where open shifts are always available. Or we can sell raw scrap. Triple S is constantly processing scrap for the factories in the row. They'll pay good money for raw hull plates. And then there's Karsten Supply, where you can buy the feed lines or deliver the data core. Oh boy. What do we do? Let's do a data diffusal shift with their final dice. At least we got some cryo from that. And then we should better get some rest. Oh, this is where we fit the feed lines, so there's no need for that. make a meal. That's better. And then leave. We end the cycle. Now that's a lot better, these dice. Let's see, what do we do? I really want to do this Conway signal first, just to give us some leeway. Let's see if we can do another shift. Negative outcome, why? Spend a long time trying to break the ice around an old Solheim core, but in the end it just fries itself and the core. God damn it. I guess we're gonna use a 5. Managed to defuse the countermeasures on a set of thrusters, and the scrapyard managers seem impressed. Now that's more like it. So let's go to the contract board. And let's buy ourselves a contract. You have paid the fee on this contract. You need to complete the job. Hexport will pay on your return. Okay, okay. I guess we can leave now? Or how does this work? Right, we need crew. Where was Nia? I would like to take Nia with us. That's... no. The trade hall. That's to buy stuff. Oh, I can buy some more fuel. Yoink. Wait. I guess we can't leave yet. For some reason. We're not doing that. That was the freight loading, yeah. The canteen. That's just for food. Let's do another shift. Why not? Right, and another. Ooh, and another. Nice. Then we can buy some more fuel. There we go. Much better. Where do I find Nia though? Right, that's what we had to do. Contracts are high-risk, high-reward jobs that you and your crew can take on. Contracts require preparation and care to succeed. You'll need to gather enough fuel to travel to the contract, gather as many supplies as you can afford to keep you and your crew going, look for opportunities to recruit crew to help you on a contract, consider which crew to take carefully. They have different skills and stress resistances, and who you choose can affect the story. And once you're ready, you can select a contract from the map and then your crew to proceed. That's the Solheim one, that's the Conway one. We do need more supplies though. Hello. Oh, god damn it. I don't have enough money for supplies. I guess we skip another day. And that was a first look at Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. In case you didn't notice, I had an absolute blast. I love the writing by the game's developer Gareth Damian Martin, and the visuals by the excellent Guillaume Saint-Gelin and music by Amos Roddy make this the perfect sequel to what was already one of my favourite games. Once again, if you want my full thoughts on the game, have a listen to episode 45 of the Playlog Podcast or read about it at length in my review over on somanygames.co.uk. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to leave that like if you liked the video and subscribe if you want to discover more brilliant indie games. I've been your host Topher, and as always, play nice kids.